Like even
build smaller boats. Boom.
Build more canals.
Yeah, there you go.
I want to get into Wall Street returning to work in person, which I think is like, I don't know if it has an impact on the markets or market psychology that's measurable, but I definitely think there is a sea change that's taken place in the last 2 weeks. And now all of a sudden, the largest companies in wealth management, banking, trading, they're like, get back here. They were like, we'll see, we'll take it. Now they're like, no. Come to the office right now. And this doesn't affect me, Michael, yourself, but this is going to affect a lot of people I know. Yep. Is this surprising that they want them back this soon, or does it seem long overdue?
For someone who's never worked a day in the corporate world, I have strong feelings, which is interesting. Maybe I'm like, this is in defense of my client and my spouse who does work in corporate America. Number one, is anyone outside of banking and finance being as like forceful about getting back in the office other than like Morgan Stanley and Goldman?
Not technology.
Okay, not tech. Jack's like work wherever you want.
Yeah,
right.
Tech's like move to Montana. We're going to pay you a Montana wage.
That was Zuckerberg,
and we're all set.
Right. So I think it's frustrating that it's so black and white because work from home really means different things to different people. And obviously, I'm going to think about it from the having school age kids at home and a dual working spouse perspective. So I think it's a lot more complicated than, hey, let's just go back to the way it was. Come here. I think it's a little tone deaf for families. But yeah, if you're in your 20s and you're wet behind the ears, or you're older and your kids are out of the house, I can see the rationale and the appeal coming back to the office. It's not surprising to see financial firms leading the charge on this. It's kind of cultural and bottom line oriented. Goldman Sachs headquarters was built how long ago? Not that long ago.
No, they're new.
Yeah, I work right by
it. This is James Gorman,
yeah.
CEO of Morgan Stanley. Sent a tough message to New York-based employees who do not want to return to the office. They're all off in the Hamptons. Again, arguing that if they are comfortable dining out in the city, they should feel safe working at the bank's headquarters. True. Quote, if you can go into a restaurant in New York City, you can come into the office, and we want you in the office. He signaled that he would take a dim view of employees who did not work regularly in the office, and especially those who wanted to do their job remotely from an out-of-state location like Florida or Colorado.
I honestly don't have a problem with this. Like, what's the average salary for these people?
I was going to say, these are all type A people who work at Morgan Stanley because they have that work ethic within. Think about what it takes to become an investment banker.
I'm sure I'm guessing that these people are happy to go back to work.
I think, well,
Doug, you disagree?
I just think you're painting with so broad of a brush
here.
Of
course we are.
And I appreciate that and all. I wish it could be like segmented or segregated. Like, again, if you're 20s and this is your third, fourth year as an analyst, get your butt in the office. Like that's important for you and your growth and the culture and all of that. Right. Again, my heart goes out. Imagine being 12 years into your job.
Wait, your heart goes out to investment bankers at Morgan Stanley?
No, I'm going beyond investment bankers here. I'm just saying like
traders too.
Yeah, traders too, back office personnel.
Syndicate managers.
Yeah. Emerging market bond traders, all of them.
What's funny is the back office people are probably needed more than the client-facing people.
That's my point.
At least until there's a client to face.
Yeah, it's just imagine being 14 years in your career. Your life is fundamentally shifted in terms of its logistics and where kids go and what you need to do. And, you've just gone through a year and a half of showing you can be productive and be a big boy or big girl, and you get, boomered. I don't get it.
Wait, what do you mean?
I just think it's like, go back to the way it was, everyone in the office. It's like I could show you how many Fortune 100 companies that have had more productivity over the last 18 months.
I have to call bullshit on this because a lot of the Wall Street people I know, and I will never name any names, they basically had a year and a half vacation at this point. And they're people that just like picked up and like people in their 20s, good for them, by the way, like a pickup with a group of like college friends. All of them work for, they all came out of an Ivy and then they all worked at a Wall Street firm. They literally like rented a house like somewhere and just sat this out and did a Zoom in the morning, did a Zoom in the afternoon, and smoked weed the entire day.
Everything I'm saying
Should you be able to do that for more than a year?
No. And everything I'm saying to you is the exception, not the 20-something-year-olds, blazing blunts and L's in their Hamptons house with eight other people. I'm just sticking up for the hardworking.
Well, let's broaden this out a little bit. Andreessen was on a podcast with Vlad on the Robin podcast, and he said it's possible that we have decoupled the geography from economic opportunity for the first time in 500 years. And he thinks that this is like, we're not paying enough attention to this, that the change was massive. It's not going back to the way it was. Investment banks aside.
Let me read his quote because it's really good. This is Mark Andreessen at future.com.
So he was writing this? Okay.
This is, I believe, a permanent civilizational shift. It is perhaps the most important thing that's happened in my lifetime, a consequence of the internet that's maybe even more important than the internet. Permanently divorcing physical location from economic opportunity gives us a real shot at radically expanding the number of good jobs in the world while also dramatically improving quality of life for millions or billions of people. We may at long last shatter the geographic lottery, opening up opportunity to countless people who weren't lucky enough to be born in the right place. So,
and sending Montana housing prices up 500%.
Big sky.
Boise, Idaho,
Big prices.
Yeah.
all these places. How many people work on Wall Street and work in finance just because they grew up in the tri-state area and the jobs were here, the training was here? Like I think that's a huge factor.
All right, so what's your point?
Well, what if like the most talented people for these jobs just never end up in New York?
How about why is it always about all or none? I think we just gravitate to extremes. I think the best thing for everyone is, hey, I'll come in 2-3 days a week. Like, let's figure out your life here and what's going to really matter. You're concerned about your employees and you want to maximize their productivity and be valuable as an employer. Find out what hybrid model is going to work best. It's never one or it's always what's in the middle.
You know how stupid people are when they're trading money based on this stuff. There were days that we called virus days where like the news like turned bad.
Work from home stocks.
And then like DocuSign would go up 10%.
Yeah.
But then like 2 days later, there would be news that Moderna got through phase 2.
Yeah.
And then DocuSign would go down 10%.
Yeah.
There are people actually trading like what they think the future of jobs is
they knew,
on a
like they
minute
knew.
by minute basis.
Yeah,
Like
but here's the thing. The hybrid model, you could stay at home if you are already employed at a company, if you have relationships with your colleagues. It's cool. That's totally fine. But for hiring new people and building a rapport, it's very difficult. So in that article, Ally Financial, they're based in Detroit. They took on around 2,000 employees that have never stepped foot within our organization. That was a quote. And turnover is highest among that group.
Yes.
So the quote was, it's easier to sustain a relationship right now than to build a relationship. So the idea that people are going to get hired out of state without meeting their colleagues and climb the ladder, like that's tough.
How many people did we hire since the pandemic started? 8?
It's been a bunch, yeah.
Some of them moved to New York to
But
do this
but
because they had that sense that I know I could do this remotely, but I'm in my 20s. I want to like really meet people in this company and not just be remote.
But we already had this foundation built. Half of our employees were outside of New York.
Yeah, we
So it worked for us.
were hybrid / remote before it was cool.
I don't have 8, but I got 1 that I hired during the pandemic, 22.
And she's moving to Salt Lake City.
Straight out there. Yeah. Go
But
BYU.
you wanted that person nearby, rightfully so, right?
I want, it's the hybrid model that won. It's the hybrid until we can really figure out. What are you going to tell a 22-year-old who's, graduated early from
But
college?
you're not going to have her sit there 5 days a week in the office if you're not there, are you?
I'm giving them access. You want to go in, go in.
Okay.
We're going to do training in my backyard.
Right. So I guess that's kind of what we're doing is we're saying to people, go in when you think you need to be in or you want to be in.
Right.
John, throw up this chart, the number of U.S. workers leaving jobs.
But Mike, you're right real quick. Just
Yeah.
like 20-something typical finance, specifically 20-something, specifically financial function, big bank. Yeah. Like I think you should be there.
How do they advance being remote?
Well, that's
You
the thing.
don't. I agree. I agree with that.
How do they make inroads with the people above them that arguably are going to be responsible for them getting promoted,
Impossible.
learning new skills? Like so much
You
of
don't.
this is soft. It's not hard. It's like see somebody in the hallway.
Right. Go out for a drink with this person. Wow, this kid's got potential.
Right. If it's just Zooms and they're pre-scheduled, you lose that, and I don't think you can replicate it.
Unless you have a function where your number crunching and analytical prowess
That's different.
actually put dollars in
Right,
the firm
right,
pocket,
right.
it's not
Yeah,
going to
the-
happen.
the
small
engineers-
percentage of the workforce.
That's the upper echelon
Yeah,
of brain
and those
trust.
people are going to be fine regardless.
Yeah,
of,
they're getting paid.
So look at this chart. The number of U.S. workers leaving jobs as a share of total unemployment. This is important. Like this really, really, really matters. People are leaving their jobs.
This was 1% of the workforce quit a job in 2009. Right now it's 2.7%. So that's a double.
It's the highest it's been in 20 years.
That's a triple almost in the amount of people.
So there's a lot of turnover in employment, and I'm very excited. Or I shouldn't say excited. I'm curious to see where this goes.
Dude, you think about how many people just have kept the same job because of the healthcare, the benefits.
Inertia, status
Right.
quo.
What the pandemic did is it like took the deck of cards and threw it up in the air.
Totally.
And then some of them landed face up, some landed face down, but it's reshuffled everything.
I think it's only exacerbated the trend that you saw going from 2009 on up. I think the workforce, you got to look at the demographics of the workforce, millennials, going from children into what their demands are. The fact that the social safety net blew up, then 2009, showing at least my, geriatric millennials, like, haha.
I love that term.
Yeah, I love it too. It's
But
the only
they-
time
but
I've
they-
loved
I'm totally
millenn-
geriatric.
But
Only
you had a
time
lot
I've
of
loved
people
millennial.
turn side hustles into full-time careers by starting businesses last year, which I think will be a silver lining. I mean, look, it's hard to find silver linings right now, but I think in 3 years, a lot of people are going to look back and say that this was a turning point for them. In the same way that like 2008 was a big turning point for my career. Like you get forced to look in the mirror and say, do I really want to go back to that job?
Plot like when Fiverr and Upwork and all those companies like came online on that chart, and I'd be curious to see like where
Well,
they
that's
are.
another Uber.
Yeah,
Like
all
all
that.
these new options came along for self-employment. Last thing I want to do on this is Wall Street Journal. Companies push employees to prove they are vaccinated for COVID-19. Goldman Sachs, Morgan Stanley are among employers requesting staffers to disclose vaccination status. So they basically are saying that they want you to tell them if you're vaccinated, and if you're not, they're like asking you not to come in or at least wear a mask. Can you do that? Because I didn't know that I could do that or not.
I'm getting mixed information. I've had some lawyer friends tell me you can tell your employees they have to be vaccinated to come into the office. I would love to talk to someone who actually knows if that's true or not.
Yeah, companies are getting covered to ratchet up the pressure from new guidance from the Equal Employment Opportunity Commission, which recently said U.S. employers can require all workers entering a workplace to be vaccinated against COVID-19. I feel like somebody's going to want to try that with a lawsuit.
Easily. That's a given.
Right.
It's a given.
Many
Straight to
people,
the courts.
I should say many people. Maybe that should depend on the nature of the work that you're doing or how close you're asking people to be next to each other.
I think this is just the beginning of things like this. You're going to get into schools and kids and on and on and on. We're just first trying to get out and have a nice summer and do some stuff. And then we're going to have to deal with people trying the courts and asking questions of what their rights are.
So let's stop drug testing and start vaccine testing. I'd be okay with that.
I'm in.